just one more. Okay, so we're moving on to the next round. There's so many big blueberries. Okay, so our next round is the humongous plant. Okay, so let's get started on it. Look.
Hey guys, welcome back to another garden tour. It's Sunday, August 25th. The weather sure does change quick. We are already getting nighttime temperatures in the high single digits, about 10 degrees Celsius. So it's starting to cool off quite quickly. Before you know it, it'll be single digits, and then the first frost will be here. But until then, we've been steadily harvesting quite a bit of produce from the garden. Every 3 or 4 days we go out there and harvest a variety of things, as you can see. So let's go take a quick look and see how everything stands. In the first bed, the beets are still here. Keep saying that we're going to take them and pickle them, but we never do. We end up just again pulling 3 or 4 out every few days, boiling them and eating them. So we're quickly going through them. I don't know if any of these are gonna end up being pickled or just eaten. Our romaine plant that we left flower is quite dramatic, actually. I did not know that it actually put out these individual stems. So we'll keep it in the ground and see what the flowers look like. Again, the two squash plants in this bed are doing well. We are starting to get some butternuts. Nice butternut squash. I think there's another one here somewhere. Always tough to find. But the butternuts are now slowly, maybe there isn't one here. There's more in the other bed. The butternuts are now starting to develop. And again, spaghetti squash in this bed doing quite well. Still got a ways to go. Quite a few on one plant. We counted 7 on that one plant. Pepper plant is kind of recovering from its deer attack. You can see it's starting to grow and sprout some new leaves and new growth, so we'll leave it in. Not much time left in the season, but we'll leave it in and see what happens. There's the second butternut squash there. Asparagus plant, same as always. We did get a chance to weed this bed, and then we'll throw some wood chips down as a mulch. The tomato plants are looking pretty sickly. Again, I'm just not sure what happened to these things this year. So I ended up stripping off all the dead leaves on the bottom, and we'll see what happens. Normally, previous years when I have 8 plants like I do here, we can't keep up with eating all the tomatoes that are produced. This year, we've had very few that have ripened up, and at the rate these plants are dying, we probably won't have a very good harvest of tomatoes this year. Beans are doing well. Again, we come through and pick every 3 or 4 days. You can see tons of flowers still on the plants and tons of beans still developing. Again, these were late to get started, so hopefully the weather holds off and we can get a full harvest. We've had a lot already, but again, hopefully we can get a full harvest out of these plants. Now in this last bed, the broccoli is all done. We've harvested it all. Just have to take the plants out. The Brussels sprouts are now starting to form. You can see on that one, at every leaf node, there's a small sprout, so hopefully there's enough time left. We can get some sizable sprouts on them. That one's really good. They have gotten attacked a little bit by some insect has got in there and gotten them. I was a little less diligent about keeping my bug nets secured, and I did actually get them on a little bit later this year. You have to be very diligent about securing your netting, otherwise that's the result. And on the other side, I still haven't taken the onions out. The leaves are still green. You can see that one's still actually standing up. So while the stalks have fallen over, they're still green. So they're still producing energy for the bulb. I'm gonna wait until these die back a little bit. The white onions still standing. That's a nice one. A couple nice white onions there. I think next year I'm going to focus mainly on the reds and white onions. I'll start them a little bit earlier, maybe a week or two early, but I do like doing them from seed. It's a little bit more work, but I never have any bolt. I didn't have any of these onions bolt this year when I do them from seed. A lot of the times the previous year when I did them from sets, almost every onion plant bolted. Over in the other bed, we've cleaned up a few plants that were eaten by either bugs or just there wasn't going to be enough time for them to go anywhere. There's still some Swiss chard and kale. Those plants will keep producing well into September. And then another bed of beets. They still got a long way to go. But again, they're pretty hardy. They have no problem growing right into late September. And a few lettuces that should be ready in the coming weeks. Strawberries are still doing very well. You can see there's still flowers and still berries being produced. So that's great. Again, next year I will start taking some of these runners and transplanting them into this adjacent bed. And in this bed, pepper plants kind of fell over. I didn't really expect them to do as well as they did. Remember, these were the ones that were damaged by the late frost that we had, but they have since recovered and are producing a mountain of peppers. There's just tons of them all over. We've been picking them. We've been picking them green, and if you pick them green, then the plant will produce tons more. We'll start on this side. Some Savoy cabbages. This is probably the best one. First year growing Savoy, and I'm definitely going to grow it again. It's quite a robust plant. Again, I do have to do it in one of my higher tunnels. These ones are not quite tall enough, but it doesn't really matter. The plants don't seem to mind. That one's a little bit further behind, but again, it's starting to hard up. Now this is the imperial broccoli. If you look back on the older videos, the other strain of broccoli was a lot looser of a head. This is quite an impressive broccoli plant. This is the one I prefer to plant, and if you see, has a massive broccoli head on it. They're all the same. They're all very, very consistent producers. Has a massive broccoli head with a single, very, very strong stalk at the base. This is the one that I prefer to grow. Very, very productive. And again, they're all the same. They'll all have a very very dense single head on it. Normally what we do is we do a full bed of these and we get tons and tons of broccoli. And again, anything we don't eat, we freeze. This broccoli will freeze very well. Cabbages, we've already taken a cabbage, starting to head up, doing quite well. And again, what else? And again, the strawberries, doing well. Just tons of pepper plants. Again, when you grow them from seed, they just go crazy. I'm gonna start the peppers a little bit earlier next year as well, because you can see that there are tons that will be produced. We'll leave them in and see how long the summer goes, but I'm not holding out much hope that these tiny ones will have enough time to produce, unfortunately. And blueberry plants looking very much the same. One thing about blueberries is they don't all ripen up at the same time. So what ends up happening is the kids come through every few days and basically eat whatever blueberries are ready that day. But the plants are doing well, recovered from their encounter with the deer earlier on this year. I think it was May or early June when the deer came and pruned them back. I've put the net up since then, and they have put on a ton of new growth, as well as given us quite a few blueberries this year. But next year they should be producing a significant amount, seeing as I've got quite a lot of new growth. And the other unfortunate thing about blueberry plants is they're the first to change color for the fall time. They are an early indicator of what's to come. They turn bright red when they do change, but they are definitely the first. We haven't even gotten that cold, and this one's already prepping for the winter. And the squash bed, again, still quite the complete coverage. I don't know what's happened with these squash plants this year, but they have just, I don't know, it's just been unbelievable. I've never seen squash plants this prolific. One thing I did notice is that, if you can see this here, that is our watermelon plant. Now, I don't know, I can't tell if there are any watermelons growing, but it's always a surprise when the leaves die back to see what's there. Another squash, which is not all that surprising. But you can see the butternuts are definitely starting to, oh, I see a very, very small watermelon. Well, that's interesting. We'll see how big that thing gets. But the butternuts, the butternuts are here, finally starting to produce. Again, there's too many spaghetti squash to count. Zucchinis are, well, they're doing what zucchinis do. They're at the point where they're producing like mad. And you almost can't keep up. If I had any more than 3 plants, it would definitely not be able to eat all the zucchinis that are produced. Again, growing around the side. The growing tips for these plants are everywhere. And the the spaghetti squash are everywhere, hanging off the fence, all over the ground. That one didn't quite get pollinated. That's all right. Tons of them. Flower spikes everywhere. And product everywhere. Again, a blockbuster year an amazing year for these plants. Probably the biggest one we have is right here. My hand in there for reference. This thing's a giant. I would be surprised if he was under 10 pounds when we harvest. He's still not ready. He's still, my nail still leaves an impression in the skin, so he's still got some time. I have no idea how big he's gonna get, but these things are literally everywhere. So definitely looking forward to harvesting those and giving them a total weigh in when we have them all collected. Alright guys, that's about it for this week. We have taken, again, every 3 or 4 days we've gone through and harvested the raspberries. We got a couple more Rubbermaid containers similar to the ones that I harvested last week full. And those plants are about finished producing for this year. So at some point when the plants die back, I'll go through and take out the old canes, and then I'll finish my my weeding of the perimeter of that bed, just to keep the raspberry shoots away from the grass, and then we should be set up for a really good harvest next year. There's quite a bit of new growth coming on those plants. All right, that's again, that about does it for this week. So see you next time.